Conrad, Lucy, Caleb, are y'all excited to hear the rest of the story about the Fantastic Four's adventure on the moon as they fight the Red Ghost and his three super apes? Remember the last time we were talking about this adventure? They were about to land on the moon. See, there it is, dark with its craters. And look, it's tinted blue. They're landing in the blue area of the moon, which has enough oxygen for them to fight. Look at the Earth. It's off in the distance, looking like the moon itself. The Red Ghost thinks that the Fantastic Four are powerless. What do you think? I think not. Let's see what happens. The thing says, "Powerless, are we? Okay, kiddies, there's Reed's signal. Let's go. Give me that gun, you blasted bob-tailed pipsqueak." Sue says, "Careful, Ben. Remember, the baboon can turn himself into almost anything at will." The Johnny flames on, turns into the Human Torch, and throws some fireballs at the super-powered gorilla. He says, "I'll keep that poor man's King Kong out of action with a fireball shield." The Red Ghost says, "I expected you to try this, you fools. Have you forgotten all our powers so soon? But look, Mr. Fantastic is stretching out and reaching to subdue the Red Ghost. But it's not for nothing that I'm called the Red Ghost," he says. "See how easily I can escape your crude attack," as he escapes through the wall. And Mr. Fantastic crumbles against the wall, too late to grasp him. He says he's right. He still has the uncanny power to make his body solid or ethereal as the need arises. The thing grabs the baboon and says, "Stop struggling, small fry. You've got as much chance of breaking my grip as you got of winning the Miss America contest." "But look out, Ben. I warned you, he can transform himself. Hey, what's going on here?" The baboon spins around and look. "Yow!" hollers the thing. He turned himself into a blasted ball of iron spikes. So now it doesn't matter how strong the thing is, he can't crush something like that. Meanwhile, the Human Torch has got a lasso around the gorilla. He says, "Stand back, big buddy. Now that Fuzzy Wuzzy is under wraps, I'll handle your little playmate for you, as usual." And Thing says, "What do you mean, as usual? If I had a nickel for every time I saved your worthless hide." And so the torch aims a firebolt at the iron ball that the baboon has turned into. Reed says, "Stow it, Ben. This is no time for petty bickering. We've still got a little problem here, remember?" And sure enough, there's a trap door and the baboon turns back into his real self, but he just jumps down under the trap door while the thing jumps for him. Thing says, yeah, I remember. Hey, he's a monkey again. Now I'll..." Nuts! Where did that trap door come from? So the baboon escapes. So does the super gorilla. The torch says, "The same place that one came from, Ben." They both got away. Suddenly, a shrill voice fills the room, the voice of the Red Ghost. He says, "You fools, did you think I wasn't prepared for your blundering attack? And now, farewell. This is the end of the accursed Fantastic Four." What does he have in mind? He sees the Fantastic Four on his view screen, but he's got a hand on a lever. What's going to happen when he pulls that lever? With those words, the cackling scientist presses a button and the chamber in which the FF are locked begins to spin and tilt crazily. Torch says, Reed, the whole ship must be falling apart. Reed says, it's not the ship, Johnny. It's just this area. Hang on. Thing says, hang on to what? We're falling. And then the hovering spacecraft ejects the entire room, dropping it down upon the airless surface of the desolate moon. What will they do? There's no air on the moon. Oh my, look, it lands and breaks apart. And the red ghost says, at last I've had my revenge. Within seconds they'll have perished from lack of air. But before the small chamber shattered, the quick-thinking Mr. Fantastic had told Sue Storm to wrap her invisible force field around the quartet, keeping the remaining bit of oxygen inside. Aren't we glad that the invisible girl was there to use her force field to hold in some oxygen and to protect the Fantastic Four from certain doom? Reed says, Sue, honey, are you all right? She says, I think so, just a little shaken up. Thing says, what's the matter? No one cares how old Benjamin is. And Johnny says, boy, how will we ever get out of this? Johnny says, goodness, Sue, if not for your invisible force field, we'd all have suffocated by now. Sue says, but the air will only last for another few minutes. And then, Reed says, don't give up hope, dear. And Thing says, yeesh. Think of all the frantic Fantastic Four fan clubs that'll be going out of business. I think not. They'll just have more to cheer for, right? Okay, Reed says, we've still got one slim chance. Remember that mysterious blue area of the moon built by some long since vanished race? It had its own artificial air-filled atmosphere. The Thing says, hey, that's right. It's where we had our last fight with the Red Ghost. But how in Sam Hill are we going to reach it from here? We don't even know where it is. And so then Reed says, Sue, release the tension of your force field as much as possible. I'm going to stretch up and see if I can locate the blue area. If I can just stretch high enough, I'm sure it's somewhere in this area. Wait, I see it. It's on the other side of this peak in front of us. Sue says, then it's still hopeless. We could never climb that far before our oxygen gives out. Thing says, who said anything about climbing? You don't think these gorgeous muscles of mine are just for show, do you? I'll dig our way there. Sue says, oh, Ben, if only you could. Johnny says, if anyone can, he's our boy, sis. Thing says, gangway for the old Cannonball Express. Working like a man possessed, the fantastically powerful Thing uses his arms like human power shovels as the fatal moments tick by. Johnny says, whatever you do, sis, don't relax your life-saving force shield. Sue says, I'm trying to hold it fast, Johnny. I have to. Thing says, I hope I ain't going too fast for you, Reedy boy. Reed says, don't worry, big fella. I'm keeping right up with you. And so they're digging a tunnel through the mountain protected by Sue's force field. But as the long minutes keep crawling by, Johnny says the oxygen's getting used up inside the force field. It's hard to breathe. Reed says, hang on, Sue dear, don't give up. Sue says, but it seems so hopeless, Reed. Do we really still have a chance? Thing says, of course there's a chance, kid. Bashful Benjamin's still here, ain't he? So they keep on digging. They keep on going forward. But finally, Sue says, I can't catch my breath. Oh, Reed, my darling. Reed says, Sue, no, it can't end this way. It mustn't. It's too senseless. Hold on, dearest. Hold on. The Thing says, my arms are like lead weights, but I gotta keep trying. Just one more punch. Just one. He did it! Look, his fist breaks through the rock and they're inside a tunnel. He says, "Air! There's air back here! We did it! We did it!" It's not the blue area. It's a tunnel of some sort. Thing says, "So who's complaining? We're breathing, ain't we?" Do you know where they are? I do. Sue asks, "Where do you think it leads to, Reed?" There's only one way to find out, honey. Let's start walking. Finally, after hours in the strange, winding, seemingly endless tunnel, Thing says, "Holy Toledo, look at that. What is it that we're looking at? It looks like some gigantic engine, some source of great power. And what building is this anyway? Who possibly could have such a large facility on the moon?" Reed says, "At last I know where we are. This is all too alien, too unfathomable to have originated anywhere in our solar system. It was built by someone from another galaxy. We have entered the home of the Watcher." Sue asks, "The Watcher?" But we remember, don't we? The Watcher is a resident of the moon, but he travels all over the galaxy. A very powerful character, but he only watches. He never interferes. So he says. And then, before their very eyes, a three-dimensional, larger-than-life image of the mysterious Watcher appears. He speaks and says, "I am in a far distant galaxy, now observing matters you cannot even begin to comprehend, but I sensed your presence here, so I sent a spectral image of myself to greet you. You need not explain why you are here. I can sense your thoughts. You know that I am pledged never to interfere with the affairs of others. I may only observe and watch." And so the Fantastic Four listen to the Watcher, and they're amazed. Look, the Human Torch actually flies straight through the image to demonstrate to us that he's not solid. He goes on, "But I am permitted to issue a warning. Though you are welcome to seek shelter in my home, you must be careful not to tamper with the devices within. My possessions, my machines, are so alien, so far advanced, that even the brilliant brain of Reed Richards cannot hope to fathom them. For example, the small object you are now holding. Look at what it does." Watcher says, "It will speed up your evolution 10,000 years a second. Even now, you have become the way man may be in 20,000 years. Drop it before it is too late." And look how Reed Richards changes. His brain evidently becomes very large, and he's changing by the second. And so he lets go of the device and returns back to normal. The Watcher says, "You saved yourself just in time, and that was the mildest, possibly the simplest of my many little devices. The globe in front of you holds an uninhabited planet 30 times larger than your sun. I reduced it to the size you see so that I might study it at my leisure. Think, an entire solar system inside a small glass globe. That's amazing. And look at this tower of gadgetry." Watcher says, "Even I do not know what that object is. I found it in a remote galaxy, and I have been studying it for centuries. But my time is up. I must leave you now. My presence is needed in a far distant star cluster. Farewell. I pray that we shall meet again." And so look, he disappears, and leaves the Fantastic Four inside his amazing facility. Thing says, if we ever get out of here, I'm sending a story about that guy to the Reader's Digest for their most unforgettable character I ever met section. Sue says, Reed, I'm frightened. Reed says, easy, honey, the worst is over. Fortunately, there are some instruments here which I believe I do understand, and if I'm right, our situation still isn't as hopeless as it may seem. Meantime, the Red Ghost gloats triumphantly as his moon ship maintains its orbit overhead. He says, think, my pretties, think of our rewards when I announce to our totalitarian masters that we have defeated the Fantastic Four. See, the Red Ghost is a communist, and he works for the Soviet Union and their communist government. He says, this is the proud moment I have waited so patiently for all these many months. Soon I shall be the most honored figure behind the Iron Curtain. And now to broadcast the shattering news to Earth. But that ominous broadcast is destined never to be made, for before the Red Ghost can utter another word, look, he says, some titanic force is drawing our ship back to the moon's surface. All our rocket power cannot slow the descent one iota. This is a powerful tractor beam. And it brings the rocket to the moon's surface. Red Ghost says, we've crashed. We're trapped in the moon's blue area. But how? Who is responsible? Cautiously, the evil scientist and his uncomprehending allies leave the ship, determined to find the hostile force that has marooned them on Earth's dead satellite. The Red Ghost says, stop trying to raise the ship, you brainless beast. Stay close to me. There's no telling what menace may be awaiting us. Well, speaking of a menace, there's the Thing. He says, don't worry, Curly, we won't keep you in suspense too long. Welcome to the Lunar Hilton. And he throws a big boulder in the direction of the Red Ghost and his superpowered apes. Red Ghost says, it's the Thing. He must have survived. Hurl that back at him, my pet. Sure enough, the gorilla is so strong that he just bats the boulder like it's a baseball. The Red Ghost says, ha, good. The cosmic rays have given you strength enough to match his own. With you at my side, I have nothing to fear. The Torch comes along and says, boy, are you living a fool's paradise, chum. There, this oversized pebble can't do any harm once I've melted it down. Red Ghost says, the Torch, then you survived also, but how? Torch says, I'll write you a letter. Now drop that gun, or I'll make my circle of flame even smaller. But the Red Ghost says, your puny firepower doesn't worry me. All I need to do is make my body unsolid, and I can walk right through it like this. And it's true. If his body is not solid, it can't be harmed. He says, but there's no way for you to escape my electron disintegrator pellet. And so even though he's unsolid, his gun can shoot off very solid weapons. But Torch says, I hate to do this to you, Ghosty, because it's liable to give you a complex. But here goes. What's he going to do? He energizes his flame, and he goes underground where he's protected. And so the disintegrator pellet explodes, but it doesn't harm anyone. Red Ghost says, blast it, he outsmarted me. He melted the ground beneath him and escaped through a tunnel he created out of his own flame. The Red Ghost says, but he's got to come up again for air, and when he does, Torch says, when I do, I'll come up above you this way. But with and intelligence which has been increased to an incredible degree by cosmic energy, the orangutan suddenly activates one of the downed ship's jet rotor output fans, aiming it at the blazing torch. So the fan is blowing against the torch, while over here the thing is fighting the superpowered gorilla. He says, hold that pose a minute. I want to always remember the way you look right now. Well, as we thought, the torch says, the fan's putting my flame out. I can't fight it. It's too powerful. I should never have turned my back. And the red ghost says, ah, now we'll see how confident you are when your flame is gone and you face my disintegrator gun again. But look, here comes the invisible girl. We can see her, but he can't. He says, with the unpredictable torch out of the way, I'll be able to devote all my special talents to the annihilation of the thing. But Sue reaches out and grabs the gun and tosses it away. She says, you wicked man, it's about time you took up a hobby. Ghost says, my gun, a voice from nowhere. It can only mean... So the invisible girl still lives also, eh? Well, not for long, I promise you that. Sue thinks, he seems so sure of himself. What can he be planning now? The red ghost says, my baboon's senses are many times sharper than normal. He can tell where you are and deal with you accordingly. So the baboon can smell and hear with super sharp senses like most animals have. And so he shoots his gun at Sue, but she goes from being invisible to throwing up her invisible force field. She says, that means it's time for me to become visible so that I can be protected by my invisible force field. Remember that Sue can't use two of her powers at once, and so she has to become visible so that she can put up her invisible force field. Okay, you probably knew that already, right? Well, the red ghost says, it's a stalemate so far, but I recognize the house of the Watcher. Perhaps I can find a weapon in there which will help me to finish off the Fantastic Four. It took almost unlimited power to force my ship back to the moon. If I can find the machine that did it, I'll have all I need. And so, look, he's going into this amazing facility that belongs to the Watcher. But when he comes in, of course, it's easy for him to do so. He sees Reed Richards. He says, I can enter easily enough in my ethereal form, and what have we here? So we meet again, Richards. I wondered where you were. And so there's Reed Richards, and he's standing next to a powerful machine. Look how it spins and twirls. He says, as you well know, you cannot touch me while I'm in my ethereal form, but I still am able to fire my disintegrator all the same. Reed says, disposing of me won't help you. You're trapped on the moon now, same as we, and my three partners will never rest till they've punished you. And a very short distance away, we see his three partners fighting against the apes. The torch is on fire, and he says, look out below. I've got my flame now, little friends. And so he's aiming his fire at the baboon. And the thing says, hey, come on back. Let's have a rerun of that for the West Coast where they film the movies, right? And so he lands a haymaker on the gorilla and knocks him away. The orangutan is confused, and so he's running away. Plus, there's not a lot of metal for him to mess around with while he's on the moon. So the torch flies off and says those apes won't be bothering us again for a while. Sue says never mind about them. Reed and the red ghost are in here alone. Thing says better hurry. They're probably tossing 6-syllable words all over the place. Yeah, scientists like to use big words, don't they? Say, that Watcher knows how to Build a house, says the torch. The wall automatically fades away when you get close to it. And Sue says, there they are, just ahead of us. The red ghost says, tell me how you brought my ship back down, and I'll let you live. Tell me. Reed says, don't hold your breath waiting, fella. Sue puts an invisible force field over the red ghost. I wonder what that will do. She says, I'm just in time. I'll throw a force field over him. And good, she says. The invisible force field affected him the way it does me. Nothing within it can remain unsolid or invisible. And he says, I seem to have become my normal self again, but no matter, I'll worry about why I've changed after I see you vanish before my eyes. Farewell, Richards. So he aims the gun. Sue says, Reed, duck, while I push him off balance. Reed reaches out to her. Sue, honey, you didn't have to. His gun was empty, though he didn't know it. But the red ghost falls forward into the machine. He says, look out. What's happening? He doesn't know. He says, what's happening to me? What have you done? Why do I feel so strange? He says, everything's spinning around. I seem to be in one spot, and yet I'm traveling faster than anyone has ever traveled before. He's spinning around, and he's getting smaller and further away. He's going into the distance. He says, everything is fading away. The whole world seems to be slipping past me. Am I going mad? Am I? Am I? Well, we don't know what's going on. And Sue asks, Reed, what happened? Where did he go? Reed says, stay back, all of you. This is some sort of matter transmitter. For all we know, the Watcher himself might employ it in traveling from galaxy to galaxy. The red ghost might be anywhere in the universe by now. Sue says, what's that you're holding, Reed? And Reed says, the very thing that the red ghost tried to find, the power ray which brought his ship down. He never suspected it would be so small, and that looks like a very small device to wield such great power. The thing looks away, and Reed continues, it was in front of him all the time, and he never knew it. But the thing says, hey, those blasted apes must have fixed his ship. They're getting away. And so the red ghost is gone. The super apes are flying off in the spaceship. And the Fantastic Four are stuck on the moon. What's going to happen? Johnny asks the same question. Then that means we're stuck here forever. Thing says, and me without a deck of cards. Reed says, we've been through too much to start despairing now. And Sue says, look, something is appearing in the air above us. It's the face of the Watcher. He says, I have returned. Though I bear you no ill will, you are not permitted to remain any longer in the home of the Watcher. Therefore, you must depart. Well, of course, that's fine with them. How are they going to do it? Well, through the power of the Watcher. He says, I may not meddle in the affairs of other creatures, but I am allowed to act in order to ensure my own privacy. Therefore, I shall send you back from whence you came. Look into my eyes, earthlings. Look deep. Look long. Are you looking? Are you looking? Do you see into the Watcher's eyes? What will happen? Return to the planet of your birth. Return to the land you love. Return and remember, Earth has good reason to be proud of the Fantastic Four. Well, I think so. I'm proud of them. But the guy in this car is not too proud of him. Sue says, we're back just where we started, on Yancy Street. Reed realizes we're right in the middle of traffic. Look out! And the car's going honk, honk, honk. The thing says, where's the fire, Mac? Johnny says, now there's an original line. But the thing is so glad to be back, he doesn't care that he's on Yancy Street. He kisses the light pole, says, oh boy, it's good to be back. And Reed says, well, if nothing else, we did learn that there are some places even worse than Yancy Street. Ah, isn't that a great story? Aren't you amazed at how they started on Yancy Street? They went to the moon and then came right back to the same place. Well, the editors say, whether this issue is a hit or a flop remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, it ought to sell like crazy on Yancy Street. More stars, slapstick, and surprises next issue. We'll be expecting you. Enough said. All right. So, well, let's look at the next issue. Let's see what is going to take place next. It's another great story and a new villain. It's the mysterious Diablo. Will he finally be the villain who succeeds in breaking up the fabulous Fantastic Four? Well, I think not, but I think I want to read that story and find out what it's all about. Don't you? Well, we'll do that next time when we come back for our next amazing, marvelous Fantastic Four adventure. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. I sure did. I love y'all a lot, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.